Hello everyone, this is Showtime 112. When Italy declared war on Britain and France on June the 10th, 1940, the task of neutralizing the important British Mediterranean stronghold of Malta was given to the Italian Air Force, Regia Aeronautica. This service was plagued by many problems such as lack of pilot proficiency, insufficient number of modern airplanes, and low strategic reserves of fuel and bombs. The bomber fleet was based on medium-sized models such as Savoia-Marchetti SM-79 Sparviero. These airplanes carried a modest bomb load and lacked sophisticated bombing sights. In combination with high-altitude bomb release tactics, this resulted in an inaccurate dispersal of a relatively light bomb load. Italian fighter force had a different set of problems. A large number of Italian fighters were still biplanes, such as Fiat CR-42 Falco. Two Italian monoplane fighters, Mach C-200 Saetta and Fiat G50, were available, but in smaller numbers than the biplanes. These designs were inferior to British or German fighters which came out at the same time, primarily because of underpowered engines and light armament. Furthermore, Italian fighter tactics were mostly based on biplane, high maneuverability mindsets, and they were applied even on monoplanes which were less suitable for it. One thing in favor of the Italians regarding the Malta campaign was the fact that defenders initially only had a handful of outdated biplane fighters. You probably know the story of Gloucester Sea Gladiators, which were assembled, given names, and flown against the superior enemy, and we won't go into details of that story now. The defenders also had a radar station, the first such mobile system outside of Great Britain. It could detect incoming aircraft 50 miles away, and the Italians were not fully aware of it. The first raid against Malta was launched on the early morning of 11th of June 1940. The strike force consisted of 55 SM-79 bombers escorted by 18 Mach C-200 fighters. Their targets were Hull Far Airfield, the seaplane base at Calafrana, and the dockyards near Valletta. As the radar station detected the incoming raid, 3 Gladiators were scrambled. The attackers were approaching from southeast, and Gladiators couldn't reach their altitude of 15,000 feet in time. The SM-79s dropped over 140 bombs on their targets, and then turned south. They began to fly around the island to avoid AAA, and the Gladiators were now able to climb high enough to threaten the Italian bombers. 2 Gladiators opened fire on an SM-79, but no serious damage was caused. The 3rd Gladiator was engaged by an escorting C-200. A fight developed in which 2 fighters damaged each other, but not seriously. All the airplanes returned to their home bases. Another raid came in the afternoon when 38 SM-79s attacked the same 3 targets from 15,000 feet. This time, there was no fighter escort, but Gladiators were not able to engage the bombers. About 43 metric tons of bombs were dropped in the 2 raids, but they caused only small damage to Malta's military infrastructure. Craters on the Hull Far airfield were quickly filled. Raids of this size wouldn't be repeated for months. Regia Aeronautica conducted smaller attacks with 5 to 10 bombers, sometimes even single aircraft raids. They generally produced only insignificant damage, with the exception of a night raid by a single SM-79 on 20 June, which destroyed the floating dock at the dockyard. In the afternoon of June 22nd, the first Italian aircraft was shot down by the Sea Gladiators. It was an SM-79 of the 34th Storno on a reconnaissance mission. Two surviving crew members, Francesco Solimena and Alfredo Balsamo, bailed out over the sea and were captured, thus becoming the first Italian crewmen shot down and captured over Malta. After that, Italian bombers would always be given fighter escort. In the early afternoon of the following day, 23rd June, 15 SM-79s of the 11th Storno attacked Valletta and Lucca. They were escorted by C-200s of the 6th Gruppo Autonomo. Two Gladiators intercepted the formation, and a dogfight between one of them with a C-200 developed. After several turns, the Sea Gladiator was able to damage the Italian fighter's engine, and the pilot, Lamberto Molinelli, bailed out. He too was captured, and apparently quite angry for getting shot down by an outdated biplane. The end of June brought some bad news for the Italians. First, the Malta defenders were reinforced by a small number of Hawker Hurricanes. Although they were still badly outnumbered, this was a major step forward in performance and intercept capabilities of the defenders. Second was the grounding of Italian C-200 monoplane fighters. As already mentioned, Italian fighter pilots were applying biplane-style maneuvers even on their monoplanes. This would sometimes cause violent spins when approaching a stall. Solution was found in installing a detachable leading edge, but the modification took time, and C-200s were replaced by Fiat CR-42 biplanes in fighter escort duties over Malta. On the morning of 3rd July 1940, 9 CR-42s from the 9th Fighter Group escorted 2 SM-79s on a recon mission over Malta. Italian fighters were led by a Spanish War veteran with an artificial leg, Major Ernesto Botto. One Hurricane flown by Flying Officer Waters managed to intercept and shoot down an SM-79. Lieutenant Squario's plane crashed into the sea, 5 miles from Calafrana. The crew bailed out but was never found. As Waters returned to land, he was attacked by the Fiat fighters. His aircraft was badly shot up and he crash-landed. He wasn't hurt, but the hurricane was a write-off. The credit for the kill was given to Major Botto. This was the first confirmed aerial victory for Italian fighters over Malta. On 10 July, 20 SM-79s were attacked by 3 Hurricanes. The bombers were an hour late for the rendezvous point with their fighter escort, but the Italian fighters had no radio, so they were unaware of it. They had to return to base, being low on fuel. 2 of the unescorted bombers were shot down by Hurricanes, while many others were damaged. Both crews were lost, while a third SM-79 was written off after landing at Comiso. On July the 16th, 1 Hurricane and 1 Gladiator confronted a dozen CR-42s from the 23rd Group. Flight Lieutenant Keeble in the Hurricane tried to dogfight the Italian biplanes. His airplane was hit and he eventually crashed. He was immediately followed by a CR-42 flown by Sottotenente Mario Benedetti, who crashed about 100 meters away. It is unclear if the Italian fighter had been damaged by the Hurricane, by AAA, or if it was simply a pilot's target fixation error. Italians finally succeeded in shooting down one of the Sea Gladiators on the last day of July. 3 of the British biplanes were scrambled against a single SM-79 escorted by 9 CR-42s from 75th Squadron. Dogfight developed in which Flying Officer Woods managed to shoot down a Fiat flown by the flight leader, Captain Antonio Chiodi. The plane crashed into the sea east of Grand Harbor. But Sergeant Manlio Tarantino was successful against the Sea Gladiator flown by Flying Officer Hartley. The Gladiator also fell into the sea while the pilot was rescued with severe burns. Italian attacks on Malta continued but were seriously reduced by September because most bomber units were transferred from Sicily either to North Africa or to Albania for the invasion of Greece. Overall results of the Malta campaign were less than impressive. The island was nowhere near being neutralized. No airfield on Malta was ever put out of action, and the Valletta dockyards remained functional. 7 British airplanes were destroyed on the ground, while 7 more were shot down in combat. Italians, on the other hand, lost 11 fighters and 23 bombers. As already mentioned, reasons for the failure can be found in the offensive bomber's light payload consisting mostly of small bombs, along with imprecise delivery from high altitude. In December of 1940, Mussolini finally had to swallow his pride and ask for German help. In 1941, the defenders of Malta would face a new and more dangerous enemy, the Luftwaffe. If you liked the video, be sure to press the like button. Join our Patreon supporters or donate on PayPal because that seems to be the only way for the channel to keep producing new content. Thank you in advance and keep watching Showtime 112.